Hey guys, and welcome to the second part of day 12 where we're actually going to be learning our ribbing pattern. As you know, and as I've mentioned in my previous video, which if you haven't taken a look at it, please do so before doing this one so you know exactly what we're doing. So like I said in the last video, when you're casting on for your stitches, you want it to be just the number that it takes to get your width, of course. I have decided to use circular needles just because, oh, these are all tangled up, just because I can get all my stitches in one. But of course, if you are using straight needles and you don't have circular needles, which that's totally fine, just like with the cuffs and everything, and the ribbing, the other ribbing that we did, you are more than welcome to do it in two pieces, and I've shown how to do my invisible stitch so you can make it one when you sew it on. So I have my stitches here, all casted on, and our ribbing pattern. Our ribbing pattern is super easy. It's just knit one, purl one for the entire thing. So it's gonna get really tedious and it's probably gonna get really boring. But I promise you it's totally worth it once it's there, because then that's the last piece that you need for your sweater. So it's knit one, purl one. You just have to make sure that your stitches are even numbers, and I'll tell you why. If you remember, our black square was also knit one, purl one, but it was odd numbers. So if you did it in even numbers, you'll end up with this ribbing pattern, but if you do it in odd numbers, like this particular pattern ends up being our black square, which is a seed stitch. Pretty crazy, but that's how it works. So just make sure that your stitches are in even numbers. Doesn't matter how many it is, it just has to be that total width of your template to make your collar. And of course, just a helpful tip that when you're casting on a lot of stitches, use stitch markers, or I use safety pins because I don't have stitch markers. You can just use something to mark your place so that you don't lose count of your stitches. So now, without further ado, it is simply knit one, purl one. So I'm gonna get going here. So it's simply just, I'll grab my yarn here. It's just knit one, purl one. And that's literally it. And you're just gonna keep repeating that for as many rows that it takes to fill this up. So whatever you figured out was your length for your total collar here, just, you know, knit one, purl one for every row until you fill up this square. Now, if you're not a paper template person and you just, you know, have that number in mind or have it written down somewhere, of course, make sure you have like a measuring tape or a ruler or something to make sure that you don't go past that. So you just knit until you complete this number, which, as I mentioned in my last video, the total width of my collar, which is what my neck hole was, is 18 inches. And I decided that my length was going to be 8.5 so that when I stitch it and I lose about half an inch when I stitch, it'll end up at 8 inches. And here's my progress so far. I'm about halfway, and I just wanted to show you guys what the ribbing pattern should be looking like. And if it doesn't look like this, you might want to go back and see if you're making sure that you're counting your stitches right and that you're doing knit one, purl one, and not accidentally repeating somewhere. And always remember to have your template nearby so that you make your collar the size that you want it to be and that you don't have some wild surprise of it being really, really big or too small when you have completed it. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on any social media. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to keep up. And remember to always treat people with kindness.